Hello and welcome to another episode of our little podcast trial that we're doing. I still call it a trial because we're developing it all along, but we've rebranded a little bit. You would have noticed from the little jingle and video with way too many pictures of me. And that's just because the person who helped me raided my Facebook, and hopefully we'll get some other pictures in on that very soon. But we've changed the name slightly and we're now calling it Why We Do It. Looking at the stories behind the stories in amateur sports. And we're joined by our live audience here because this is the monthly Pentland members podcast. When you see the little logo in the corner over there somewhere, we will be talking to someone from Pentland. And if that's not there, it's because we're going to be talking to some folks from outside the club. But that's all to come tonight. We are delighted that we have got Julie who joins us. Julie, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Do you really mean that?
It might be better when this is finished, but yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. It didn't take much arm twisting, just a little bit. You turned me down once, and then we got you the second time. And nearly everyone here has been approached at some point. Others will be approached in due course as well. So everyone's going to get it eventually. So thank you very much for joining us. I should introduce you as not only a member of the club, but also a member of the committee. So thank you very much for that. And also a former Edinburgh age group champion. Not Edinburgh. Forget the Edinburgh piece. European age group champion in the duathlon.
Out of not very many.
Right. I knew you were going to say that. So that's why I brought my yellow card. So every time you talk yourself down like that, which has happened several times in the notes you sent me, you're going to get yellow carded. Who knew that Julie was a former European age group champion? No one. Absolutely no one knew that. There you go. Podcast has achieved something already. So we'll come to that in a second. We talked a little bit about how we're going to do this. I think your story is absolutely fascinating because it seems to be in three big phases. There's this amazing period of success in your events in the middle, and then there's some challenges and difficulties sandwiching both before that and after that. So in a second, we're going to start with the middle bit, and then we're going to go back, and then we're going to come back to the nearer term, the last few years. Sound all right?
Yep.
Cool. So we always begin with childhood and childhood sports. Where did you grow up? What kind of sports were you doing? Let's ease in with that.
Yeah. So I grew up in Bromley, which is Kent, and it's just outside London. And I was active. I cycled places to get around, but not as a sport. I was in a very low key swimming club from about age 8 to 10. And then I stopped that and changed to a running club, which I did up to age 18. So nothing spectacular, but it was sporty and enjoyed sport at school, etc. too.
You were quite sporty and you got into it, but it wasn't a big thing. And you go to uni and there's a little bit more there, but actually more socializing than anything else by the sounds of it.
Well, I tried the running club and it was just really a drinking club. There were some good runners, I think, but it was more of a drinking club. So I moved to the hill walking club instead, and that was good fun.
Less drinking club, more walking.
Bit of both.
Bit of both. Yeah. Any uni club's going to have some of that, isn't it? Yeah. Good. And then, right. So beyond that, anything else from those, or should we just? Because there's a lot to get through. So let's cut straight to things start to go well. I mean, we're jumping ahead because we'll come back. We're jumping to you're doing a physio masters in Australia.
Yeah.
And then you discover triathlon. So tell us about that and how really the next 3-4 years all roll out, all the way through to probably Madeira and Swansea. Let's go through that kind of phase.
Okay. So in 2000, I went to do a master's in Australia, and the master's year itself was pretty full on. So I didn't have much time for sport, a wee bit swimming, a little bit running maybe. But I read about a triathlon course that was being run by an ex-elite female Aussie triathlete, and it was just going to be, and it was just for women, and it was 1 swim, 1 run, 1 cycle per week, and then I think it was 8 weeks, and then it ended with a really little informal triathlon triathlon at the end. And I was too busy to do it the first time, but then luckily it was rerun, and I was staying on to work for a few months, so I thought I'd try it. And because I'd done a little bit on each of the sports, I thought, might be quite fun. And yeah, really enjoyed it. And then entered a few other events while I was in Australia, really short. I wanted to do relays where you did each bit, every competitor did each part. And then I remember entering a sprint and thinking, it's a long way, and would I make it? But really enjoyed it. And then thought quite like to do triathlon when I got back to Edinburgh. So I Googled and came Edinburgh Triathletes. So I joined the club before I got back because I thought I might chicken out otherwise. So I joined the club and went along for some sessions and then some cycling. And
before we jump into that, what an amazing place to start, Australia. I mean,
yeah.
We thought about moving there at one point, and I was still kind of, I guess, in my early 30s, and the thought of being able to do kind of amateur sports there, and our kids growing up there. I mean, amazing place to do something like that. And was it a bit of a shock coming back from triathlon in Australia to multi-sports in Edinburgh and Scotland?
I guess what I was doing there was quite low key. I mean, and I was doing some events with others that I'd been on the course with. And I thought, being Australia, that everybody would be really sporty. But actually, there was quite a few people that this was their way into sport. I think it was set up for anybody to come along. It wasn't for sort of high-end, really fast people. It was just come and have a go. So it was really nice. And I made 1 or 2 friends on that. We entered events together. And again, it was just really quite low key. So it was just a bit fun. Yeah.
They're really nice and making friends, but it's interesting because one of the things about this podcast is we have a very low listener rate. So no one from Edinburgh Tri is ever going to listen to this because when you came back, it wasn't quite the same, was it? In terms of friendly,
so I went
friendly and welcoming.
Yeah, well, I went to the filming sessions and that was fine. And that was, I think, John Whitaker and Scott Balfour, who most of you all know, and they were certainly coaching the first couple of sessions I went to. They were nice, and people generally at swimming were nice. And then I turned up for a cycle. And I think it was probably October by this time. And they were onto their winter program. And so I think it was a sort of, and I can't remember whether it was a stop, but it was a sort of, this more chatty pace kind of cycle. And I only had my round town bike, and I thought, well, it might be cold and I might need extra stuff. So I had my pannier on the back, and I turned up with my and a couple of the girls who I did go on to beat did look me up and down and like, who are you? But luckily the guys were a bit more friendly, otherwise I might not have gone back. So
how you beat them in a race with that bike with the panniers on? That would have been even better.
It would have been good.
Yeah. So you get into it here, and then that's about 2001, 2002, I think.
Yeah. So 2001 I joined the club, and then because I'd come back after the summer, I didn't race until 2002.
Right. Yeah. And then from 2002 to 2004, a 3-year, I should have counted this, and I was almost going to do it while you were talking, but I didn't want to distract myself. There must be 30 races, 25, 30 races that you've listed on this. You said something about you had a log. Did you keep a log of all of this?
I've got it all written down. Yeah.
That's amazing. Who else has done that? Anyone got a log of all the races? Of course, yes. So we can't go through all of them, but I mean, it's like second, first, third, second, first, third, second, first. I mean, there's barely a race here where you're outside the top 4 for that kind of 2 or 3 years. You're absolutely smashing it. And before we get into the age group stuff, when you go to Madeira, what stood out for you in those first few races? What do you remember? I mean, there's so many here. Which ones are the ones that kind of jump out of you when you think back on it without your logbook in front of you?
Certainly the first one, because when I was doing it in Australia, of course, it was open water, so it was a race. Everybody was competing at the same time. And then my first one was Midlothian. It was from the Lone Head Pool, and I just remember going out on, maybe the bike was okay, but certainly on the run, just sort of feeling like I was in the middle of nowhere and there was nobody there, and like, have I gone the right way? And then you finish and you just think, well, I don't know where I came. I have no clue. And it was just a really different experience. But then I think I enjoyed the open water ones better. Right. So Gullen was good. Maniki.
Yeah, I mean, we're just Midlothian, Stirling, Aberfeldy, Kelso, Midlothian. This is the next year. Stirling, Edinburgh, Bruce, Monarchy, Portobello, Aberfeldy, Gullen, first, second, third, and all of these in that year. Home Nations duathlon champs. And then you started getting coached for age group. You obviously thought, hang on a minute, I can do this.
Well, it was mostly because
I'm getting ready with the
no, I don't need it for this. But so in 2003, Gullen was a qualifier for the age group championship the following year in Madeira. So I wouldn't have, if it had been somewhere else, I wouldn't have bothered to find out about it or anything. But because it was Gullen, I was doing Gullen anyway.
And they were talking about it.
It was like,
you were second.
why don't you?
So you came second.
Yeah. Why don't you sort of register your interest? And I thought, no, I don't really want to do that. But I was persuaded to pay my £5 and register my interest. And so then obviously I got placed. So then I thought, well, maybe I should do it.
Maybe you should do it. Yeah. So where was your first age group race? Was that in Madeira?
Yeah.
So it was World Champs. Tell us about that.
And
tell us what you were told before you went. I think you were, in terms of coaching and hopes and expectations.
So yeah, I didn't really know much about it because I was really new to everything still. But I thought I should get coached to like make the best of it. And he said you might be able to come in the top 10 if you work really hard and it goes well. And I did. I worked very, very hard and I did look at every detail. A little bit different from things since then, but I did focus on every detail, worked hard, and yeah, it just all went to plan. It was quite difficult because it was beginning of May, so it was quite difficult to do many practice races beforehand and things. So yeah, it was difficult to get an idea of sort of how my training was going and how well I was doing.
Okay. And then Madeira comes around after that prep, and you go and do that. How did that go?
I think all pretty much according to plan. It was good. Difficult again, and I'm sure you're used to it with the races you've done when you just don't know. Like you don't know where you're coming in there. You don't know where you are. You don't. Even when I finished, I had to phone friends at home to ask them where I'd come, like what position I'd come. I didn't have a clue, like where I was. You just had to do it as a time trial and do your very best and hope for the best. So I think I think I finished it and felt like
So I was pulling up your picture. Did you actually say where? Did she say where she finished? No, you avoided that. So where did you finish overall? Fourth overall in the World Champs in your first age group competition. Phenomenal. Kirsty, what's the highest you finished?
You can't compare, Jim.
Fourth. Fifth is my highest.
Yeah, but you can't compare. I know that. The standard was really high. And it was a long time ago.
I'm getting the yellow card out. Well, no one's come first, I don't think, in Edinburgh Tri. There's a picture on the screen. I'll put it up into a little bit of a bit bigger picture. Check that out. 30 to 34, fourth in your age group. Absolutely incredible. There is another picture. The computer must have ditched it. I did have it ready. I'm going to see if I can pull it up really quickly because it's from a little bit. I think it's the same year, but a different race. Later and here we are. Look at that. Look at that. Is that serious or what? Looking the part. Not sure about the wheels, to be fair. You'd probably take about 5 minutes off if you upgraded to modern day wheels. But the rest of it, grit and determination. And obviously these pictures are special for you because I noticed you took a photograph of them and they're in a frame. So are these up somewhere on display?
Yeah, that one's in the loft, but yeah.
It was on display somewhere at one point because it's in a frame. Cool. And I think it's just extraordinary. I don't think, as I just said, I don't think anyone in Pentland Tri Club's got it first. We're checking that against the record. You might be the only one who's won a European or World Championship age group in the club. I'd love to check that because you're so kind of I haven't done anything, and that would just be brilliant to know that. Just for my own info, really, nothing else.
I just had to. I do have to qualify it. There were 10 Brits and 1 Italian, as far as I remember, and that was the race. So I just, have to qualify that.
There are several places you make that caveat, and I really don't think you should do that. I think you should be told off every time you do that. So extraordinary. 3 or 4 years. Stuff starts to happen after that, but actually, just getting there in the first place was something because stuff was going on before. So let's talk about December '96 and we finished with your uni time, and then you decided you're going to run a marathon. Take us from there through to coming to Edinburgh.
So I ran a marathon in 1996 through my club. So my first job was in Lancaster, and when I moved in there was a brand new track just like 2 minutes from where I stayed. So I thought I'm gonna have to do some running. So got into doing more road running, cross country. Probably didn't actually use the track that much, but it was enjoyed being in the club. Then from there did the London Marathon. Went too fast in the first half. It was quite a hot day. It was into the low 20s, went too fast. Had to drag myself to the finish, and it wasn't the best experience in the end, but I was pleased to have done it. And then thought would really like to do another marathon, like in London again if I could, just to see if I could get a better time. And so I entered, and the first time I'd been in a club place. This time I did actually get a place. I came home from work.
So this is the day that you got the news that you were going to do the racing.
Yeah. So I was running anyway. I was training, and the places came out in December, ready for the following April. And I got home. Used to work a shorter day, one with variable hours and a shorter day on a Wednesday. Got home, meaning to go for a run in the afternoon, and marathon place was on the doorstep. I was like, yay! So I thought I'll mark my training by going just slightly different route, maybe slightly further, and went out for my run.
I'm nervous. I'm really happy. I'm so nervous.
Went out for my run, 10 miles or something, and I was coming back into Lancaster, and I just passed a clearing, and there was a guy stood there. Thought slightly odd, but didn't really think anything of it. And then carried on running, and I was running uphill. And then the next thing I knew, footsteps right behind me, and this man in a mask just grabbed me and pulled me off the road into trees. I did that thing that people say, I thought I was going to die. I thought about my family, my sort of life went before me. And I was just aware that I was just really had no self-defense skills at all. I was just being really ineffective. It was like fighting with my brother when I was 8 years old. And but what I did do was scream. I didn't freeze. I just screamed and screamed and screamed. But even during it, I had this sort of thought in my mind, thinking, well, it's uphill. They'll have the engine going. They're going to hear. It's December. They'll have the windows. I thought this was going through my mind, thinking nobody's going to hear. But people did stop. They did hear, and they did stop. And they eventually,
So people intervened.
That's not, and police were great, and he was caught. He went to prison, and it could all have been a hell of a lot worse. But ended up with minor injuries, and amongst that, a sprained ankle. Didn't feel it at the time, but had a sprained ankle. So no marathon for me.
When I read that, my eyes just came out of my head, and I heard people's reactions here. That is like the biggest nightmare for, I guess, most female athletes running and training on their own, but men as well. I mean, we're all at risk, but females in particular, obviously. So that is an unbelievable thing to happen so early in your kind of, I guess, your amateur sports. So I don't know whether you want to say anything more about that or move into. So how do you come back then?
There's a little story first of all, because the two people that had stopped, like as far as I was concerned, they'd saved my life. So I would do anything. And they said they told me that actually they were having an affair, and so they couldn't be seen together, and so I couldn't mention. And so I had to lie in my statement. So I lied.
You lied in your statement to save them after they saved you.
No. and then eventually I think somebody else had mentioned, so it came out anyway, so then I had to revise my statement. But one of the guys that I ran with was a policeman, so I remember coming into work to take this revised statement and things, and it was just like,
and did they understand you were trying to help them?
Oh, totally.
They were just like, okay, fine.
Yeah, it was fine. It was fine. And eventually he pleaded guilty and he went to prison, so it was fine. But I didn't really want to stay. I was quite keen to move somewhere bigger, more career options anyway. But it did prompt me to leave and to move elsewhere. And I came up to Edinburgh.
You came to Edinburgh, and we are the winners of that. So that's fantastic. I must admit, when I read that, I thought, and I spoke to you, I was like, are you going to talk about that? And I've actually been quite nervous about that bit all the way to there. So there we go. That's the big shock story of there. Wow. Oh my God. So recovery. You're in Edinburgh. You were injured. I don't know how long that gap was, but you didn't run obviously the next year the marathon.
Yeah,
But-
couldn't do the marathon, and then yeah, I did get back to. I got back to running, then moved up to Edinburgh. I think I was starting to get knee problems, and I think retrospectively looking back, it was probably just we didn't do any strength and conditioning back then, and I think I would have really benefited from just being a bit stronger. So yeah, started to get knee problems. So for a while I wasn't running. I was active, but yeah, not running.
Okay, and then
I went to Australia,
and then you went straight, and we got the story from there. Then it climbs all the way up to the amazing kind of Madeira World Champs and the European triathlon champs in Swansea, where you won. And there was, but that was, but you were caveating about the numbers, but not allowed to do that. And then other things happened, a new phase. So now you're the European champion duathlon, and you're like, oh, I can't do anything else. I'm just the next phase of my life's now going to start. So what changes then?
So that was later in 2004, and then I was planning to take a bit of a little break and then do a half Ironman the following year was the plan.
So why a break? I mean, this part, I'm going to keep saying this to different people. This is why did we do it? We want to dig into the whys. So why a break? 3 or 4 years smashing it. What's you're thinking about having a break?
It was only like a couple of months or something,
Okay,
but just just not do much
just
of it,
reset
and then
for a bit,
and then come keep doing bits and pieces, and then
yeah. Okay, but it doesn't really. You go cycling on a big trip abroad, and then from here. So last time we had Dave Colwell on this podcast, and I said that his his whole story was a Greek tragedy, just one thing after another. But it wasn't anything like stuff you've just told us about. He had a mechanical in a race. Big deal compared, but it's just like consistent things. You got quite serious injuries start to recur on you with knees in particular.
Yeah, knees, Achilles and stuff.
And it's just a never-ending kind of story from there.
A little bit,
right up to the point that you didn't put it in here, but you messaged me this afternoon saying, "Oh, I didn't put it in the notes, but I've now got a knee challenge again. I'm off again." And I was like, "Oh, we'll just add that to the end of the long list." But 2005, you decided to go to Europe for a cycling trip.
Yeah,
and that doesn't quite go according to plan.
Well, it didn't go according to plan because sort of life events get in the way. Split up from my boyfriend at the end of 2004. We've been together 9 years. We had a house, blah blah blah. So had a house to sell. Had to buy a flat. Life took over, and so I couldn't. I wasn't doing much training for a while, and I was a bit naive. So when I was asked if I wanted to go on this trip, so it was with 3 or 4 others from ET. I thought, yeah, great, that'd be great. We're going to the Alps.
You're almost pro now. You're like, yeah, sure, I could do that.
and one of the girls that was going, her boyfriend was organising it, and I knew that generally I'd find things a little bit easier than her. So I thought, well, it's not going to be too bad. But I sort of didn't stop to think that maybe I should have trained a little bit for it. So we were flying into Geneva, and then we cycled to Lake Annecy, and then we cycled to top of Alpe d'Huez, which is 90 plus miles, and we were carrying our kit for the week. And then the next day we went
to hill like that with all your kit. And then you just can't get rid of these panniers. You just love them.
Yeah. And then the next day we were supposed to be doing the Marmot, which is a bit like, it's not quite a stage of the tour, but it's like 100. I think it's over 100 miles, and it's 3 really big passes. It's really, really hilly day. And that was just the following day. So yeah, we got towards the top of Alpe d'Huez, and my Achilles just went both sides. And I knew I wouldn't be doing anything the following day, but we got there quite late, but I went and found some ice, and I thought, yeah, maybe. And then the next day I thought, well, I really shouldn't be doing it, but everybody else is going, so I'll just go and maybe they'll be okay. And but the trouble is the event started down the bottom of Alpe d'Huez, and off we went, and I thought, nah, this isn't going to work. Turned around, cycled back. I'm now at the bottom of Alpe d'Huez, and we were staying at the top of Alpe d'Huez. They're off for the day doing 100 miles. Can't remember then. I certainly wouldn't have had a smartphone, so I wouldn't have had any kind of like where I could be a little knocker in my pocket or something. But I don't have had any money, and I just thought, well, I need to get up there. So I thought, well, I'll start pushing my bike up Alpe d'Huez, and then with Achilles tendonitis starting on both sides, I thought I'll push my bike up Alpe d'Huez, and I thought maybe somebody will stop and offer me a lift or something, but no. So I walked right to the top, pushing my bike the whole way. So funnily enough, then had raging Achilles tendonitis both sides. We did go and watch the tour one day, and it was fantastic. But apart from that, it was a bit of a bit
I
of
just have to quickly
week.
check the qualifications. We've jumped around the story. By this time, you're a master's qualified physio, so you're able to diagnose your own Achilles issues at the top of this. Yeah, you know exactly what's going on.
But as I said, it doesn't always lead you to make the right decisions.
Yeah.
So that plagued me for the next year or two. It was just
actually off plan for a second. Let's just go there for a minute, because you kind of talked about it. I don't want this all to be about being a physio, so it won't be. But let's just do it once. You've been a physio through all of these things, and some of them we haven't talked about yet, but lots of injuries. What's it like being a physio and going through this yourself? And then obviously you're treating other people. Very briefly, just cover that, and then we can move on.
I think obviously I've got more knowledge, so I sometimes know a bit more what's happening, but that's not necessarily a good thing. I think you sort of approach it differently when it's yourself, because if you have an injury and you don't have the knowledge, you go and see somebody, and then you give them your story, and they have a good look, and they diagnose it, and then you make a plan, and it's just so much less structured when it's yourself. So you sort of think, oh well, I still don't know what I'm doing, and then you're not accountable to anybody. You're not going back for an appointment. Even when I have seen people, it's often been colleagues, and they've said, oh, just put yourself on the end of the list, and I'll have a look, and you get 5 minutes, and it's very haphazard. And I think you tend to kind of everything's subjective, because it's all based on what you can feel. You don't necessarily do the objective tests that you would do if it was somebody that came to see you. So your view on your sort of diagnosis is biased. It's not necessarily right. And then you just it's easy not to keep to any exercise program and be a bit more sort of slack about things as well.
And you repeatedly say, oh, I didn't do enough strength, and this is what happened, and I'm now hearing this. I got a knee issue, as I think most people know, and I keep hearing, oh, we need to do more strength training. Why don't you just professionally advise us all on why we should be doing strength? I'm just going to take this away as a bit of a learning to motivate myself to get up tomorrow morning and do some more.
I just think a lot of people, runners are particularly bad, I think, for not doing stuff alongside their running and just thinking the more miles they get in, the better. But doing the actual sport doesn't necessarily prepare you for the sport in the best way. It does in lots of ways, but you need to have the strength, you need flexibility for certain things, but certainly strength. And if you don't have that, you are more vulnerable to things, and it means your control of certain joints and the way you move is not as good as it could be. So it maximizes your performance, but also should minimize your injury risk as well.
And most of us in the club are a little bit beyond our 30s now. Not all of us in the club, but most of us. And I guess that's another factor, isn't it? Even I know that. So
and particularly for women.
Yeah.
Particularly for women.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. With menopause, etc. Which we did the menopause course.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Did you come along to that?
I did.
Yeah. Excellent. Yeah, good. From the Coach Parry people. Not course, but the presentation. So we've kind of jumped away from the story. So let's come back to sometimes being in the trial clubs quite good for other reasons. Guess where I'm going with this? What else happened significant in your life because you were in a tri club? Edinburgh. He might be watching.
Definitely not. Yeah, so Kevin and I met in Edinburgh Triathletes.
Yeah. And married a year later.
Yeah. Well, not after we met, but
Yeah. Okay, good. And then 2 young girls quite soon after that.
Yeah.
So life's definitely in a different phase from where you were in 2004. Not only injuries, but now your mum and you've got a new family going. So all the kind of things kind of start to change there as well. Anything on that to add to the story? Add to the challenges and the difficulties.
I think just overall, there's so many people here that I completely admire for how you fit in your training alongside family, and I haven't been very good at that. There were definitely lots of times. There were definitely lots of times, like particularly when the girls were young, when Kevin would get home at 10 in the evening and things. I couldn't do much. But there probably have been times when I could or should have done more. But I've also found if I can't run, running's my favorite. And if I can't run, particularly in the past, with there not being many sort of swim bike events, I can't run, then I'm not sort of motivated to do the others, which is really bad, but I find it hard. And in general, if I haven't got something to train for, I find it harder to motivate, not to motivate to do the training because I enjoy it, but to prioritize it over family things. I find that really hard if I haven't got a definite thing. But with various injuries and things, I haven't wanted to book something to put pressure on me to, you know, to train and maybe do too much. Or
yeah, I know that feeling.
So,
yeah. Something I don't know about, because we're talking about women in sport. You put something in here about women and dealing with challenges of life. We want to be an open podcast and talk about this things. The fact that it's in there. Do you want to tell us about that?
I said have pelvic floor problems for like, well, after both girls were born, I couldn't run without wetting myself by the time I got down the end of the road. And Kevin said, just ignore it, just go. It's just not enjoyable. So I did. I saw colleagues. I did work at it hard, but I did end up having surgery, which, you know, was night and day in terms of being able to run.
Was that a big decision? Was there kind of risks?
Well, it was because it is using products that have been in the news since about things that have been have been withdrawn. So and any surgeries, exactly. I would have liked to have done it anyway with just being able to rehab it with exercises, but I just couldn't run. I don't want to run. And that's 4 years after my youngest one was born. So I'd had sort of 6 years of not running by that point. And that was really frustrating.
But you get through that, the surgery works, and you get running. But then the ankles and the knees and everything's like coming back. Yeah. But running is a thing, isn't it? Running is where it started. I kind of picked up a thread that the swimming and cycling's good, but it's the running that does it for you. And that's also the hardest thing. And I completely empathize with that. I'm exactly in that place right now. So when we were talking about coming on to talk about this, I was like, oh my God, I need to hear this. I need to hear that. I've been really blessed that I've had very few injuries all the way through my amateur sports life. And now I've got kind of a pretty decent one. And it may not be able to do much with it. But when I hear stories like you and lots of others who have just not given up when you've kept going in one way or another, and it doesn't have to be a flat out race. It's just about making it work. And this is the why do we do it. It doesn't have to be to race, but you've got a lot more out of just staying in a club, staying kind of training, haven't you? Even though you don't have that kind of race kind of
I think it's
plan anymore.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard sometimes just when you want to race. But I joined the club, I think 2011. So maybe 14 years ago. And I think it's been good because I think, there's been lots of times when I could have left. There's been lots of times when, it's frustrating because everybody else is racing, but I've sort of kept going because I know that if I'm in the club, I'm more likely to do something at some point than if it's just me on my own. So,
So there's the why.
And it's, obviously it's nice to spend time with people as well.
So,
but it is frustrating.
With this rowdy bunch, rather than that lot from the Edinburgh Tri Club, much better over this side. Yeah. But it's not. We're going to go to questions, by the way. So time's flying, and I'm sure there'll be some questions. So we'll give some time for that in a second. But it's not all doom and gloom.
No.
You got back in 2016 to London Marathon.
Well, 2015 I did half Ironman Dublin.
Yeah.
And that went well. A lot less training because I was doing it alongside a family, so a lot less training than I had done in the past. But that went well, and I was really pleased with how that was. And then I thought
time for that
5:15.
Unbelievable. I think I did 5:45 my first ever FLD. So amazing.
It was.
No. Don't do it. Keep going. Move on.
And then on the back of that, I sort of thought, I've still never done another marathon. I've still got to do another marathon. So I entered Edinburgh for 2016, and that was exactly 20 years after I'd done London. And I spoke to Carl and got a little bit of advice and like, how could I fit it in with not many training sessions? And then was ice skating with Claire and all our daughters in January. And right at the end, it wasn't your fault. Right at the end, my daughter overbalanced and pulled me over, and I fell down on my tailbone and couldn't walk for a few days, let alone run. So I had a month or so off. And then I spoke to Carl and I said, I've got to get that time. Am I still gonna be able to do it? So he sent me on a 10-mile time trial on the canal to just get a time to work from. I reckon I can still do it. So got back into training. and did Edinburgh and took 12 minutes off. It wasn't huge, but took 12 minutes off, but I was quite pleased.
Quite pleased. 12 minutes off a marathon. That's unbelievable considering what you've just been through. So that's amazing. And then, so was that 2016?
Yeah.
And then there's just more of the same.
Yeah.
Just a ACL rupture.
Yes, a big knee injury in 2018.
Bad ankle sprain on water relief, several months out.
Yeah.
And then so on and so on. But we must get to this one because it's in your list for worst try moment.
Yeah.
And I do remember, this is one story I did know about you before. Yeah. And most people here will know this. Your worst try moment, and the other people here were involved, I think. Claire again. Tell us about the Northumbrian. I was looking for the name of the second Northumbrian.
Well, I brought bad luck on you because you couldn't do your half Ironman. You're meant to be doing the year of your 50th. Oh, yes. Because we were mountain biking at Glentress for my daughter's birthday. Claire fell and broke her collarbone. So then the following year, when I saw, I think
Kealy Awards really just getting.
So the following year, when somebody from the club posted about the Northumbrian, I think, and I thought, oh, maybe that's 9 days after I turned 50, and I wanted something around that time, so maybe we'll do it. So Claire and I entered together, and then so did the training, and then a month before went down for a sort of recce of the course, and went out on the bike on a Saturday, and I just felt a bit loose and a bit kind of something weird with the change in gear, and then we got further on, and my derailleur just suddenly swung into my wheel, and
we're getting back to Dave's kind of stories now.
Completely, wasn't rideable. I found myself getting into Claire was up the road, and I ended up getting into a camper van with a guy I didn't know just to take me back to the car. It was just a bit of a fiasco, but that was on our recce. It's
a little too soon after the previous story. Everyone's kind of going,
and then the day of the race, we knew it was going to be quite cold. I was worried about my hands and feet, so I had sort of hand warmers in my shoes and things just to help wrap them in a blanket. It was a 2-course swim, a 2-lap swim. Did the first lap, seemed fine, and then went on to the second lap. And I remember starting to get cramp in my calves, so I was trying not to kick. And then I was halfway around the course, and then the rest of it is just a blur. I remember another competitor calling for help for me. Don't know why. I remember hanging onto a boat and they wanted to haul me out, and I said no way. And I remember getting to the last buoy and turning around, and it was something like 30 meters to the finish sort of gantry of the swim, and I just thought, I don't know if I can get there. I don't know what was going on. I remember I had to turn onto my back and swim looking up at the clouds and just keep moving, and somehow I got there. I somehow got around in transition, don't remember it. I somehow did my transition. I don't know if my shoes were nice and warm. I don't remember any of it, but I got everything on, and then they swooped in and took me off the wheelchair. And as they took me off, I thought, oh, Claire's bike's gone already. I thought, okay.
Shouldn't have gone.
I thought maybe I was a little bit slower than I was expecting to be. And then it was only later in the ambulance, after I'd warmed up and everything, gave me paperwork to sign, and it said picked up at 8 o'clock, and the race had started at 6:30. And I thought,
unbelievable.
What? I said, that can't be right. And they said, no, we picked you up at 8 o'clock. And I said, but I should have been around that and out in, I don't know how long, but like half that. They said, we picked you up at 8 o'clock, and I haven't a clue how. So presuming the first lap went fine and part of the second lap, I took, I don't know, an hour or something to finish and to do my transition.
Falling deeper and deeper into
I don't remember much about it. And that really scared me, because it made me realize how out of
that really scared you. Oh my god! Yeah.
Well, just a bit more recent the other instant, but it did scare me, because it made me realize how out of control you are, and how kind of, if you did fall into water and it was cold, and
absolutely, the lack of awareness and what that does if you've not got help. Yeah, definitely. Questions from anyone?
I've got 2. If it's okay, I think your story is incredible. The first question is, how do you feel about being out on your own since Lancaster?
It was hard to start with, but it's obviously a long time ago now, and I think I'm fine, as long as somebody doesn't run up behind me in a blue top, particularly with a hood up. But that freaks me out, and I have to just stop and let them pass and just take a few deep breaths, and then that's fine.
Blue top in particular. Wow.
Yeah.
And then secondly, how do you feel now about being in open water?
I think okay. I wasn't to start with, but I think I'm okay. And I have a nice thermal wetsuit without holes in it, so it's all good.
Did you have a holy wetsuit?
I just have a holy wetsuit.
Which in Kelder waters probably, yeah.
Not sensible. Not sensible. But yeah, I mean, we had used it in colder temperatures up in the reservoir, and it had been fine. And like it's just typical of the last 20 years of like when I have done the odd thing, I haven't necessarily paid attention to detail as I should.
Paid attention to detail. Right. Okay. Any other questions?
I haven't got a question. I've just got a comment. And Julie should have definitely been out of the water before me. And I spent the whole of the cycle thinking she's going to come past any minute. Something's happened. And when she didn't come past, I was terrified that something had gone terribly wrong. And I was so relieved when she waved at me as I came onto the
From
road.
the ambulance window.
Yeah. I was so relieved but so sad, because it really was so nice to have done the race together. And we will
We're
do a
going
race
to.
in the future.
We're going to.
We're going to come to that to finish.
Okay.
Yes.
Anything else? Anyone else? One more.
I was just going to ask if I was your fairy godmother,
Mhm.
wave the wand, and I could say no injuries,
Mhm.
no problem, no aches, no pains. What event would you want to do more
Brilliant
than
question.
anything else?
I would quite like to go back and do Northumbrian, just because.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished. Yeah. I probably wouldn't be great in hot temperatures either, so I'm not sure about warm, but I'd certainly like to do that. It's hard to sort of think like no injuries and kind of the games. I'd love to do something like the half Kalman or something. I'd love to do that, but I think that's unrealistic.
So right now you're still dealing with this ankle injury. I'm sorry, I keep saying ankle. Knee. There's a knee, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all related to my ACL thing.
From the other events in 2018. Yeah. And but you're going to fix that, and then you might have just answered this, but what next? What's the future? What do you still want to do, and why as well? That's the thing. Why do we do it? What do you want to do and why from here on?
I think it's hard because definitely on the downward slope in terms of age and sort of being able to do something big. And I think, having not done much the last X number of years. So I think, I'd be very happy if I could do, a half Ironman. I'd be really happy if I could do a half Ironman. I don't think I'd do another marathon. I don't think I'd do anything longer because I just don't think my body would stand up to the training. So I think it's, half Ironman would be realistic, I think.
And you were a sprint specialist in the beginning. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it was a standard distance.
Oh,
Standard distance, yeah.
Stand corrected.
Standard distance.
Yeah.
And I think I probably would have done better then at half distance, probably would have suited me better than standard distance.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Okay.
Didn't get onto that.
Good. We're at time. I would love to actually go further and ask for more questions. I'm sure there's more burning questions, but we're gonna bring it to a head there because that's a good place. The future is bright. You're still here. You've been involved in Tri for 25, 26 years, something like that.
Yeah.
From your time in Australia. That's quite a lot longer than probably most people in the club. And what an unbelievable journey you've been on, and hopefully you can get some more fun times like Madeira and Swansea and some of those really, really good ones back in the day. And there's a massive list of them. They just came so quickly and so compressed together. Julie, thank you so much. You were so uneasy about, I haven't got a story to tell. Can you believe that? So everyone says that, and they always have a story. So thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure, and now I know so much about you, which is always good. And that's one of the reasons we do this, is so we can all learn more about each other. And next month, hopefully the 10th of September, we'll be back somewhere, maybe here, but we'll work out a venue. But Frank Kealy will be up next, so hopefully folks will turn out again to hear his story.
I'm sure it's been entertaining still.
We ought to do a double header. We'll see how we go. Thank you so much, and thanks everyone for coming along and joining us, and we'll catch you soon. Cheers then.